Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Shnorhafiza Ibrahim, and on behalf of my co-authors, I would like to present a paper entitled Good Governance Practiced by the Malaysian Mosque Committees in Managing Mutual Benevolence Members' Perceptions for ICIS 2021. So throughout the presentation, I will cover 5 areas. I'm going to start with introduction, and then we will look at several key literature related to the study, and then I'm going to explain about the research method, and then I'm going to proceed with the discussions of results, and finally we are going to look at findings, limitations, and also future research. So as an introduction, what is a mutual benevolence? So for example, in Malaysia, it is better known as the khairat kematian. So the mutual benevolence is actually a form of financial assistance to be given to the family of the deceased Muslim, and it is managed by organizations, usually for the employees, and the management of the mutual benevolence by organizations is commonly more structured with proper documentation, safekeeping, standard operating procedures for the distributions of the funds, and their managers are also equipped with financial risk and management knowledge. There are many mutual benevolence managed by associations, society, and committees such as the Mosque Committee, but the way they manage the mutual benevolence is more informal. Yeah? And then the management of mutual benevolence is actually based on the ta'awun concept, and where we can refer to this ayah, that means translated as help yet one another in righteousness and piety, but help yet not one another in sin and rancor. Fear Allah, for Allah is strict in punishment. If you look at Malaysia, there are approximately 6,464 mosques and about 70,000 plus prayers places or musalla or surau in various parts of Malaysia. And for the management of mutual benevolence by the Mosque Committee, they only need to follow the Section 94 of the State Islamic Religion Administration enactment. Like in Malaysia, every state they have their own enactment, but basically the content of the enactment more or less similar, and therefore the rules are very limited, particularly regarding the collection and use of the funds, and therefore in terms of the management and operationalization of the collections and distribution of the mutual benevolence, basically depends on the mosque. So the terms, policy, operations and management very informal and may differ from one mosque to another. Some mosques are very transparent, they provide a complete information to the committee members, but some may not. So therefore, this study intend to explore members' perceptions on the Malaysian Mosque Committee accountability and good governance in managing the mutual benevolence. So when we look at the literature, we can see that here the management of the mutual benevolence exists in every Malay Muslim community in Malaysia, and it is an organic institutions that serve public interest. So we can view it as similar to non-profit organizations such as a charity or education or for the community, basically. So when they compare the performance of the non-profit organization, for example, this study about this on the spot society, they can see that the society that are well governed perform better than the others. So when we look at good governance for non-profit organization, the most important principles of good governance are transparency, independence, accountability, and responsibility. And here the accountability refers to the quality or state of being accountable. That is obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions in terms of the reporting. So here, and this is very important, particularly now when we look at the current COVID-19 pandemic that has adversely affected many facets of our lives. So therefore, it is very important that the management of the mutual benevolence by the MOS committee can be strengthened, because it's there to benefit a wider pool of beneficiaries, especially the rural, less privileged, or people from a lower income level in the rural area. So and when we review the literature, we can see that existing study assess worse perceptions on the MOS governance, but not on the management of the mutual benevolence. Yeah. And there are other studies that focus on bigger organizations such as social education, zakat authorities, wakaf organizations, and also the private provider of the bereavement care services. So therefore, here we are in the opinion that it is not practical to institutionalize or to transform all mutual benevolence managed by the MOS committee into cooperations. So rather, we believe that it is more practical and viable to strengthen existing MOS committee in managing the mutual benevolence. So here, our research, we use a questionnaire, and we utilize the online platform, that is the Google form, and we choose a convenient sampling approach where every member of the research team will share the Google form to the family members, relatives, friends, and also other contacts. And there are two sections in the questionnaire. The first part is for demographic, and the second part is we provide a list of statements related to duty of care and competency, where we refer to Abraham et al. 2015 that study MOS governance on managing the MOS affairs. And here respondents are actually asked to use a Likert scale for every statement relating to the duty of care and competency, where 1 for strongly disagree and 5 will strongly agree. And the completed questionnaires we analyze using Excel, because we just want to look at the descriptive statistics. So based on the results, we can see that majority of respondents were government servant, and the remaining respondents were either working with the private sectors or self-employed. And what is more important is that we find that almost half of the respondents earn less than 1,000 per month. So if you are in Malaysia, you know that this is actually very minimal. So we can see this actually highlight the importance of the MOS committee in managing the mutual benevolence, because the mutual benevolence are actually there to benefit not only a wider pool of beneficiaries, but also to the less privileged poor people in the rural area especially. And the largest respondents were from Selangor and Perak. And from the benefits, in terms of the distributions of the mutual benevolence, the most common benefits were funeral support services, funeral needs, and cash benefits. And the preferred payment method was by cash and on a monthly basis. So these are the results for the element of the good governance, that is on the duty of care and duty of competency. And you can see here that majority of respondents agree that the MOS committee are actually had demonstrated a satisfactory level of duty of care in terms of being transparent, good communications, providing information in the organizational chart, flow chart for the collections and distributions, and also in terms of duty of competency, and they meet the members' expectations. And therefore, we find that the MOS committee in Malaysia have satisfied members' expectations and has satisfactorily managed the mutual benevolence. Nevertheless, there are always room for improvement, and the committee should be more transparent and be more receptive to any feedback and suggestions from the members. However, our results are limited because they are only based on 105 respondents, so they may not represent the view of the whole Muslim population in Malaysia, and furthermore, it only focus on the two elements of good governance for non-profit organisation, that is duty of care and duty of competency. So in the future, we suggest future research to include other elements of accountability and good governance, such as trust, clear vision, mission, directions, internal control, and also effective reporting. Alright, so that's all from my team. Thank you so much, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at this email address. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.